Yes. Welcome to Market Madness, the podcast from GiveMeSport, where every day is like deadline day. And we are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. For people who don't know, Market Madness is the ultimate football podcast for fans who want to go beyond the headlines and into the stories that shape the transfer market.
Yeah, search at GiveMeSport across social media and feel free to comment. We will try to read as many of them out as we can. You can also listen back to the show later on your podcast app of choice. Links can be found in the show notes. For more information on any of the stories discussed today, head over to GiveMeSport's website. Now, myself, Olivia Buzaglo, and of course, Joel Beya. And you can see we're joined by our resident journalist, Ben Jacobs. Ben, out in America, how is it out there? Is it hot?
Yeah, Club World Cup, it's hot and sticky. I'm in Philadelphia at the moment. It's loud, it's noisy. I've been interacting with various fans. Chelsea and Man City are both here in Philadelphia. And looking forward to the Club World Cup. I know you must have had a keen eye, Liv, on Esteval Willian, soon to be Chelsea. There's a few nice stories and a few stars I expect to break on the scene. And of course, PSG, defending Champions League champions, off to a winning start as well a few days ago. And a little bit later, by the way, we got maybe a Trent Alexander-Arnold debut as Real Madrid play Al Hilal.
Yeah, Joel, and I've said this before, the Club World Cup is for the best teams in Europe, you know, in UEFA, CONMEBOL, all of them, you know, just across the world. But you might not know about it, but just in case you want to watch it.
I just want to quickly say, right, that I did a bit of research after you bantered me last time. And you got to remember, like, not all the teams have won things, you know, that are playing in there. There's a few like rules and
but you know that makes it worse for Arsenal because Salzburg they qualified as the 9th best team UEFA have ranked over 4 years, and they've been so like. Where are Arsenal? What have Arsenal been doing?
I just think there's an agenda. There's an agenda.
Anyway, should we move on? Let's move on. We would first like to give a big thank you to our Facebook community, which has now reached an incredible 26 million followers. It is a huge milestone. But I know, 26 million. Massive. But of course, we want to grow it even more.
Shut the front door. 26 million followers. You're mad.
Like we did there. So we can reach sports fans all over the world, providing them with great content and a platform to discuss the biggest talking points in sport today. You can follow us on Facebook to stream Market Madness Live and watch the best bits from each show.
That's right, man. And coming up today, Joe, here we go. Myself and, of course, the main man, Ben. Not saying you're not the main girl as well, but the main man, Ben. We spoke to Fabrizio Romano. He's back. He's back on the show to preview a busy summer ahead. And yeah, what else is on, Liv?
Yeah, we're going to hear from Lionel Messi, the GOAT on the Club World Cup, who's been speaking from Miami ahead of this big tournament.
Oh, we've got Lionel Messi coming on the show.
We've got Lionel Messi on the show, guys. We've got Lionel Messi on the show.
Budgets are crazy. Ben chats with commentator Conor McNamara, who is covering the tournament in the USA.
Myself and Joel will be competing up against each other in our debate challenge.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait.
Bring it on.
Yeah, and of course, you got the Athletics' Dermot Corrigan, who will be with us live to chat Real Madrid and Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah, all that is to come. Plus, Ben brings us the latest breaking transfer news as per usual. Right, let's get into it, shall we? This is Market Madness from GiveMeSport.
A lot of pointing I'm doing here, isn't it? There's a lot of pointing. Now, to Ben's question challenge. During the show, we'd like Ben to find the answer to this question. All right. Will Xavi Simons move to the Premier League this summer? And which English clubs are interested? Ooh, that's good stuff, right?
Great question. And an expensive transfer as well, to give you a spoiler alert, but I'll come back to you with more details at the end of the show.
Oh, looking forward. Yeah, looking forward to finding out.
Especially because he's one of those players where he's been touted as the best thing since sliced bread for a long time. And I mean, I remember him coming up in the academy at Barcelona. You know, it was always going to be difficult him breaking into that team back then. But, you know, and then obviously at PSG as well. And it just seemed like it was Mbappe's team and they didn't really need him in that situation. So he then obviously, did he go from there to Holland straight away, Ben?
Yeah, he did. It was a strange situation where PSV to PSG, so quite confusing. And then after he joined PSG, they couldn't sell him to Leipzig because there was an 18-month clause giving all of the money to PSV. So PSG loaned him to Leipzig, and this is why it was a saga. And they waited and waited quite cleverly. And then after the clause expired, they sold him and were able to make all of the money. And now Leipzig, if they are to sell Xavi Simons, are looking to turn a profit.
Now, I'm not one to laugh at how people point names, but did you call him Xavi Simons? Why can't you just call him Xavi Simmons?
I thought it was Xavi Simon. I don't know.
I think Liv's probably right, and we're both wrong. That's the default.
Or you don't want to be wrong, so you're making sure that Liv is right to save face. How about that one?
It's also a very good theory.
Yeah. Anyway, what we got coming up next, man? Because I've got the urge and the feeling that there's a here we go transfer news coming up, because we haven't signed anyone yet as Arsenal, by the way, and I'm getting itchy. Stop laughing. I'm getting itchy feet. Is that
right? Okay. Shall we do it? Let's hear from the main man when it comes to transfers. Fabrizio Romano is here to preview a busy summer ahead. This is Market Madness from GiveMeSport.
Fab, you look great, by the way. All right, I'm loving the regrowth that you got going on here. Very elegant indeed. But look,
a little bit of here we growth.
Oh, well done. Listen, we got a few questions we want to get through. It's all about the transfers. First one: Nico Williams' future, Barca, Bayern, or is he staying at Atletico Bilbao? Can you let us know what the situation is, please?
Look, my friend, the situation is that in this moment, from what I'm hearing, Nico Williams only wants to go to Barcelona. So the message was sent very clear in a direct meeting on Friday last week between the agent of Nico and Barca. So he wants to go to Barcelona. That's his intention. Now, depends on Barcelona, because Barca want to go for Nico. They decided internally this week, and also speaking between the director Deco, the president.
I don't know if anyone can hear me, but I think we might have had some technical issues.
We have. I think to me, I'm hearing. It sounds to me like it's technical issues. I mean,
okay. Look. Should we just? Okay. I think actually, I was going to say let's just chat transfers, but actually, I think that's the perfect timing because our first guest has just jumped on. So joining us live now is La Liga correspondent for The Athletic, Dermot Corrigan. I think we can welcome Dermot in. I hope we can welcome Dermot in.
Are you there?
There he is.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining us on Market Madness. Just first of all, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good here in Madrid. Happy to be on and talk to you guys.
Yeah, great to have you on. Obviously, everyone's been talking about the Club World Cup. Real Madrid are in action a little bit later on this evening. First glimpse of maybe a few of their new players. But how seriously, I mean, the money at the end of it suggests that everyone's probably going to take it seriously. But how seriously do you think that Madrid are going to take this tournament?
Yeah, Madrid are taking this tournament really seriously. Xabi Alonso yesterday at his press conference said that we're Real Madrid, we're the biggest club in the world, and we want to be world champions, which is a very Real Madrid thing to say, and also fit perfectly with going into the tournament. And it, like as he said there, the money that's available for winning the tournament is obviously super attractive for Real Madrid President Florentino Perez and for everybody at the club. And also there's a feeling at Madrid that they want to move on quickly from 24-25 season back in Europe, where things didn't go exactly to plan for Madrid, beaten by Barcelona in Copa del Rey and La Liga, beaten by Arsenal in the Champions League. So with Carlo Ancelotti having left and Xabi Alonso having come in, there's a whole idea of a fresh start. This is already something new, something different, and the Club World Cup is the first part of that. So they're super excited about it. Even signing Trent Alexander-Arnold for 10 million. They could have just waited until the summer or to next month to pick him up for free, but they wanted to get him in, wanted to make sure he was able to play because of the injuries they have as well. So that's another sign of just how importantly Madrid are taking the tournament.
Nice. Okay, I wanted to know, do you have any updates on how Xabi is settling in general?
Really well. It's not easy to come in at this moment. I was going to say of the season. It was kind of at this kind of in-between moment where this tournament is at the end of one season, but it's also the start of the season for him. So he's having to hit the ground running. He's having to get to know all his players. Some of them he knows from being former teammates like Luka Modric. Others he will know from being an opponent against them. Others he hasn't met yet. So it's a big deal for him. Madrid are also signing new players. They have players coming back from injury. So it's not easy to fit all those pieces together. Alonso's still putting together his backroom staff. But he's been super impressive. He's a really charismatic guy. He's a great communicator. He knows Real Madrid really well as well. So there was a lot of anticipation ahead of his presentation at the training ground a few weeks ago. He handled that really, really well. He's a very cool customer, Xavi. He knows everything about Madrid. He's on message. He knows what he can say. He knows the kind of areas which are a little more politically difficult when you're Real Madrid coach. He's able to handle that really well. And yeah, yesterday as well at his pre-game press conference, he was really open, answered loads of questions. And everybody's at Madrid is really excited to have him. The mood were in the squad as well, talking to a couple of people who know some of the players. They're all really impressed with him. He's very organized. He has a clear idea of what he wants the players to do. He has everything down to the T, just as you'd expect Xabi Alonso coming in. And yeah, he hasn't played a game yet, so we'll see. But so far, so good for Xabi Alonso at Madrid.
Dermot, I want to talk about Trent. It's not Trent Alexander-Arnold anymore. It's just Trent. It's very, very Real Madrid, I think. Very Galactico, I think. But just first of all, I know Liverpool fans absolutely hated it. But I think every other football fan in the world absolutely loved when Trent stood up there and spoke fluent Spanish, because everyone knows how long he would have had to have been learning to have had to even just speak the lines that he did. But actually, to do that will go far, so far with those Real Madrid fans, won't it?
Oh, for sure. I was in the room when it happened, or just at the training ground, and there was shock. Nobody expected it. They managed to surprise us. Even people behind him, you could see the faces of the Madrid executives, the coaches, and people who were there were all kind of smiling to themselves, going, "Wow, like look at this guy." And that makes a huge difference. You know, Gareth Bale took him a long time to speak Spanish in public at all, and that was held against him, whether fairly or not. That was held against him by some people around Madrid, especially when things are going wrong. That kind of thing tends to affect the fans. Kylian Mbappe, when he joined, he spoke excellent Spanish, but he had, a decade maybe to get ready to join Real Madrid. That had been on the cards for a long time. Whereas Trent, we're not sure exactly how long he has spent learning Spanish, how long he knew he was going to be coming to the Bernabeu. He was clever enough about avoiding maybe answering the question about how long he'd been learning Spanish, but it was super impressive, and it was a sign of how seriously he's taken it. It's not difficult to come to Madrid as a new player. There's a lot of pressure to hit the ground running, to deliver immediately. He's going to be up against Dani Carvajal, maybe the club captain, for a place in the team. So he knew he needed to make a good impression. He worked hard to make that good impression, and very impressive. Everybody thought it was excellent.
I mean, I just thought he had the Duolingo Plus package. But there you go. I want to talk more about Real Madrid signings this season. Who else are on the horizons for them to sign? Because obviously we know they need players. Yeah, well,
Trent has come in. Huijsen has also come in, spent a good bit of money on him to get him from Bournemouth to play at centre-back again for this tournament, because there's so many centre-backs injured. They really wanted to get Alvaro Carreras, the Benfica left-back, former Real Madrid U-team player, a guy who spent time at Manchester United. Weren't able to get that one over the line before the tournament started, so maybe they'll go back for him later in the summer. Maybe not. It's still up in the air a little bit. Mastuantuono is coming in, but he can't move until August as well. It's difficult to see where else in the team they're going to spend. Madrid, if you talk to people around Madrid, people who watch the team closely, people also inside the club, Toni Kroos has never been properly replaced at the base of the midfield. That somebody to knit the play together, to be the kind of on-field general, to the rudder for the team from the base of midfield. Somebody like that will be excellent. And that's what Xabi Alonso used to do in the team. That's a super important part of the team, the way Xabi Alonso likes to play. Let's talk of Real Sociedad's Martin Zubimendi. It seems much more likely he was going to go to Arsenal, or maybe he had already decided he was going to go to Arsenal. That move's very close. Whether Madrid are able to blow that one out of the water or not remains to be seen. But some kind of player in that mold would, from my point of view anyway, and from different people you talk to around the Bernabeu, would be somebody that Madrid will be looking at.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to watch Real Madrid and excited to watch Trent. They obviously kick off against Al Hilal in the Club World Cup at 8:00 this evening. Dermot, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. You can follow Dermot's work over on The Athletic and follow him at Dermot Corrigan. Dermot M. Corrigan. Just to get that right. Dermot M. Corrigan. This is Market Madness from GiveMeSport.
Was you correcting yourself, or was you trying to make it clear for the audience?
Both, because I was ready as Dermot Corrigan, and then I realised there was an M in there, so I was like, I've got to get it right. I don't want to give the listeners false information. I want them to all go and follow Dermot whilst he's, covering Madrid for, so had to make sure I got it right.
Oh, Liv, is that me or is that you? Or is that breaking news?
Let's head over to...
Breaking news relating to Liverpool, who I understand are yet to give up on Alexander Isak, even though it's going to be a really difficult deal to pull off. And if they are to succeed, the likelihood is Liverpool will have to smash the money record that they've just put down for Florian Wirtz, 100 million plus 60 million in add-ons, which could become a British transfer record. Liverpool are first focusing on Darwin Nunez's future, whilst doing outreach to various striker targets. Nunez is expected to leave for 70 million euros or more. Napoli, Atletico Madrid and Saudi clubs have him on their radar, including Al Hilal. And that 70 million euros or more is going to help Liverpool be very aggressive in the market for a number 9. And Isak remains, like with Arsenal, to the dream target. But Liverpool feel there could be a window of opportunity in the coming weeks, even though we have to respect Newcastle and their position is still not for sale. Liverpool's perspective is it might be worth trying nonetheless. And what I'm told they're prepared to do, as they did with Wirtz, is offer Newcastle United a guaranteed £100 million and then a package overall that may even surpass the 116 million that Liverpool have agreed with Leverkusen for Wirtz. Naturally, Liverpool know that this is a difficult deal to pull off. Newcastle insiders insist that with UCL football, they hold all the cards. Isak is well paid and contracted, and maybe an offer only of over 150 million pounds, even closer to 200 million, might change Newcastle's mind. But Liverpool may still try for Alexander Isak before moving on to another target. And the likes of Hugo Ekitike, Benjamin Sesko and João Pedro are also on Liverpool's list. Anthony Gordon remains a player of interest too. So if Luis Diaz departs for Saudi Arabia, that could be one to watch. They nearly agreed a deal with Newcastle 12 months ago, but Newcastle were then able to sell Elliot Anderson to Nottingham Forest and Yakuba Minter to Brighton, and that satisfied their PSR position, which meant that Gordon stayed. But there was a brief period of 2 or 3 days where Liverpool really thought Gordon would already be a Liverpool player. So still Liverpool active, big spending, even after Wirtz. And they haven't yet given up on Alexander Isak, even though they know it's a difficult deal to pull off.
Wow, Ben, on form there. I have to say, it is again time to speak to Mr. Fabrizio Romano. Obviously, we had a few technical issues earlier on, but don't you worry. You guys are going to have the chance to listen to Ben Jacobs' most famous joke that I've heard since doing GiveMeSport. He talks about Fab's beard. If you can catch it, I'm giving away prizes. Please, let's go to the Fabrizio interview.
Laporta, Hansi Flick, and all of them together, that they work now financially, with financial fair play, with the
Fab, you look great, by the way. All right, I'm loving the regrowth that you got going on here. Very elegant indeed. But look,
a little bit of here we growth.
Oh, well done. Listen, we got a few questions we want to get through. It's all about the transfers. First one, Nico Williams' future. Barca, Bayern, or is he staying at?
Oh, this is a. Joel, you're on mute.
I came in with a good line there.
It sounded like it, yeah.
I was so proud of myself. I said, here we do not go. But
here we do not go. Oh,
yeah,
gosh. It will be out. Don't worry, guys. Do not worry. Do not worry. It will be in the audio podcast. It will be across GiveMeSport socials. It will be there. So if you've come for the Fabrizio, please stay, because we've got so much more to come. But I mean, Nico Williams, talking point, Joel, because he is a winger on everyone's radars, it seems. But it looks like he's probably not going to be coming to the Premier League, which I'm a little bit gutted about.
Yeah, no, because there was this slight dream. I don't know if you heard, but there was Arsenal fans that had it was the smallest dream, but I thought there could be a chance that maybe we'll go for him next year. And meaning this was from the Euros, right? And everybody knows that his release clause isn't like that high, his trigger. And but yeah, it looks like he's not interested in coming to Arsenal. Surprise, surprise. But hopefully we can still get someone on the left to cover. I've got a question to ask you, by the way. I don't know if we're supposed to be moving on with the show or not, but I would like. No, we can have a chat. Well, I was having this discussion with a few people last week, and don't you think in Arsenal's situation, right, instead of going to pay £92.5 million for Benjamin Sesko, right? Do you not think it's a good idea to just go get another very good forward? Because good forwards are like easier to get in today's market. If you look, for example, at PSG, they don't even play with a 9 and they've got talented wingers across the board. I'm not saying you steal one of their players, but I'm saying you could probably pay a maximum of 60, 70 million and you've still got money left over to buy like an average striker, and then you can go about your business. Whereas if you spend £92.5 million on a striker, that's no guarantee. Right.
Yeah, but no player's a guarantee.
Yeah, but then at least you're spreading your money a little bit, aren't you? And
the only thing I would say to that is that Arsenal, to be honest, I do think you need a winger. I think you need someone that contributes, because at the moment it is just Saka. Odegaard doesn't contribute. No. Like Martinelli doesn't really contribute. Like you can't be wanting to win the title and having players that start every single game that don't contribute. I sort of understand where you're coming from, but I do also think that watching that Arsenal team, they're just crying out for like an actual number 9. And I just think if you just get another one of those players that can sort of play as a number 9, but can play as a number 10, can play, like you're just getting another player that you've got enough of already. I think personally, like I know you're not going to go for Isak, but to me, that is the perfect fit for you. Like I know that's probably unrealistic, but I just watch Arsenal, and like if you get Gyökeres, I'll be gutted. I think he'd be great.
No, sure. I mean, for me, it's if you ask me out of the two, I would rather him, just because he looks like he's going to work hard. He's going to run in behind. He's hungry for goals. He's got that hunger. But I don't know. My thought was that if you can get someone to contribute with the same amount of goals that Saka does on the left, right? Yeah. And then you get a striker to chip in and he's okay, then you've made up the same numbers anyway, instead of waiting for your striker to come in and bang you 9 goals when there is no guarantee that he's going to do that. So it's just, look, you're right in the sense where we definitely need a striker. I just think it's kind of sad.
Do you know, as happy as I am that we got him, I actually think Liam Delap for 30 mil would have been perfect for you.
Yeah, and that I was going to say that. I know that his is a situation because of the relegation, so he probably.
But like, why were you not even like? Obviously, I know he came on for his first like appearance at the Club World Cup, and it's his movement. Like he is a proper number 9. Like he just understands that role, and obviously Nicholas Jackson isn't that for us. And it's like they offered 2 completely different things. Both players actually played really, really well against LAFC, but his movement and his ball for Enzo's goal was absolutely brilliant. I'm really excited to see, but it just when someone's release clause is that low, for a player that scored a double figures in a team that were pretty bad and went down, he gave so many defenses such a hard time that it baffles me that Arsenal weren't even in the conversation for him.
You're right. I mean, why are we going to go battle with someone for £92.5 million when there was someone out there we didn't even try? You're right.
He's played in the Premier League as well. Like he's played in the Premier League. You know what you're going to get. He's physical. Like, I mean, your loss is our gain, because I'm obviously it's very soon to judge Liam Delap, and I think we'll see as sort of this tournament goes on and the season starts. But I think positive signs. But I think, Joel, should we hear from the GOAT?
Mate. Honestly, if you told me that Messi was going to be, I probably would have worn something nicer.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Now, oh my goodness. Can we have him on? Can we put Messi on the GiveMeSport screen, please? Can we?
Bueno, es una oportunidad muy linda para también los equipos sudamericanos, de diferentes lugares que vienen, para poder competir con los equipos europeos, con los equipos grandes, con los equipos que son potencia a nivel mundial, que son referencia, que tienen, como decía antes, los mejores jugadores del mundo. y bueno, es una linda oportunidad para poder competir con ellos y una linda experiencia para poder disfrutarlo tanto el jugador que lo juega como el aficionado que va a la cancha.
I mean, I never thought I would see the day that I'd be on a podcast that the absolute GOAT is on. Yes. And by the way, it's the GOAT that has still got it. He's still got it. And I'm adamant, like, he'll definitely play at the World Cup next year, right? Yeah. Definitely. And I think when you put him in a team of, like, obviously playing for Inter Miami, obviously he's got Busquets, he's got Jordi Alba, he's got Suarez, but obviously they're not the players that they were. And also the other players aren't that great as well. But if you put him in a team with runners, players that will give everything for him, like Argentina do, he can still do it. I mean, he's still the best. Like, there's still no one close to him. There's still no one close to the ability of Lionel Messi. Like, even now, like, I watch him and I'm just like, he's just the GOAT.
Do you think he's still the best player in the world right now?
Yeah. There's no one as good. Tell me a player. I love Lamine Yamal and I get excited when I watch him play. And not a lot of players do that to me.
That's the answer.
No, it's not. It's really not. It's actually just not. If you watch Messi, like Lamine Yamal has got like obviously like heaps of talent and he's probably the closest thing we're probably going to get to Messi, I think. And he had a brilliant season, but I just watch Lionel Messi and I still watch the things he does with a football and think, how on earth do you do that? Do you know what I mean?
He's a gift. Look, there's no one that's as talented as him. I agree with you. He is like, he's the guy in it. Like, it's magic. It's you can't replicate it. But if you was to say who's the best player right now in the world,
still Messi.
I don't know, man. I still give it
still
to
Messi.
You know, like
his levels are just. It's because do you know what it is? It's because we've watched a lot more of Lamine Yamal. He's playing at the highest level. Like Messi's obviously gone to Inter Miami. How is he? 36, whatever he is now. And he's just chilling out at the end of his career. But in terms of like when I watch him on the ball, he's still as magical as he was when we saw him however many years ago. Even when he was at PSG, it didn't work out. Like
but that's what I'm saying. When you look at him at PSG, it wasn't as magical. Mbappe was better than him there. You know, and
no, but like he's still the best. Still the best.
Mbappe was like that's why they were on him so much.
Mbappe was never as good as Messi. Has never been and never will be as good as Messi ever.
No, I think you're talking talent-wise. I think.
No, I'm talking just like at that time, Messi was still a better player than Mbappe.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. That's the.
Anyway, should we move on? Because I mean, if you've just joined us, then you have just missed the GOAT, Lionel Messi. But do not worry, you can catch the show back on YouTube, X, Facebook. All you have to do is search GiveMeSport, or you can listen back on your podcast app of choice. Just search for Market Madness. I'm actually covering Lionel Messi's game tomorrow, Inter Miami against Porto. So I'm very, very, very much looking forward to that. So let's, on that note, have more Club World Cup chat, shall we?
Tell him I said he's the GOAT when you see him.
Yeah, a little post-match interview down the line, hopefully. My Spanish might come in handy. No, I'm joking. Anyway, Ben caught up with commentator Conor McNamara to discuss the tournament and how he was feeling in the build-up to it.
Genuinely looking forward to this. I know we're all coming to the end of a long season, but there's something about a big tournament and sort of being on the road that's always very exciting. And I've always been a fan of the FA Cup over the years, which pits teams against each other that you normally would never see. And I'm always fascinated by that. And it's brilliant when you get a non-league team playing a Premier League team, obviously, but everything else in between. And I think there's a little bit of that about the Club World Cup. Like, I'm looking forward to games like Boca Juniors against Bayern Munich. There's such different styles, such different cultures, and yes, they might have met at sort of exhibition sort of level over the years, but to meet competitively like this, I think it's going to be great.
And does that affect your prep as a commentator? Because you're not just dealing with potentially different sides you've watched less of, but as you say, different matchups and styles as well, which is going to create a very unique brand of football here at the Club World Cup.
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be good to watch. It doesn't necessarily affect the prep as much. I think, there's a tribal nature to supporting football wherever it is. And obviously, if you're doing a Manchester derby, that's got a certain culture to it that, maybe a rivalry of teams half the globe apart won't have. But at the same time, I think they'll want to show what they can do. And it's funny actually just doing the prep and looking at the different squads here, it's amazing how many names pop up. You know, there's guys playing in the Middle East now, or there's guys playing in Japan and South America. I mean, Boca Juniors, I was looking at it yesterday. I mean, half of them played for Manchester United at some stage in their career. It's incredible. Yeah, look, I'm looking forward to that part of it, and I think this is probably going to be a different audience, maybe, to what I've commentated before, because the way it's structured with DAZN, and it's literally all over the world. So yeah, you got to be careful about making maybe in jokes that one nationality would get, or you know, people would understand in Europe but they mightn't understand elsewhere. So certainly wary of that. But you know, it's the joy of football, and I know it's a cliche, but it's the sort of international language of it, and people will just get carried away with the tournament once it gets up and going, I'm sure. And a thing that I love is, you know, it's quite possible that at this tournament, Messi could be on the pitch up against some young 19-year-old who in 10 years' time has gone on to become this amazing player. And say, do you know that he actually played on the same pitch as Messi a decade ago? That sort of thing. I mean, obviously in Munich last week, I had Ronaldo and Lamine Yamal on the pitch together, and you sort of feel that that's definitely going to be one that we'll look back to in the future. So I think this Club World Cup will throw up a bit of that, because there is so much experience, but also so much young talent coming through. You know, this isn't a sort of exhibition level, you know, legends tournament. It's not that kind of, albeit so many legends in it, but so many young guns who hope to make a name for themselves as well.
And a good example of that is in Inter Miami's group, where Lionel Messi and Inter Miami will face Palmeiras, who've got Esteval Willian, who after this tournament is off to Chelsea.
Yeah. I mean, and this is it. And I genuinely think this is a huge selling point to this tournament, and why people would be delighted to tune in, is we're going to see so many new signings, or as you say, guys who are on the verge of joining other clubs but still playing with their previous club. I think, you know, from Manchester City's point of view, there's a lot of guys who are going to be involved, and I'm sure Pep Guardiola will play them. Usually when we get to see over a summer guys, you know, make their debuts, unofficial debuts for a team, it's often in pre-season friendlies or maybe tours around the world or whatnot. The fact they're getting to make debuts for teams in games that matter, in games that they will want to win, and you know, make no mistake about it, you know, so many of these international players, they absolutely see this as a massive prestigious trophy. And from the club's point of view, I mean, the prize money element is as big as it would be for so many other tournaments that they could be involved in. So they will be taking it seriously, and I like that element. You know, I like the idea of seeing, you know, riders played for Manchester City in a game that really, well, let's see how good he really is, not just against some sort of you know, friendly atmosphere up against him.
And how do you assess the chances of the two English teams, Manchester City and Chelsea? City will be desperate to win a trophy after the season that they've had. Chelsea have had a long old season, but it feels like momentum is maybe on their side.
Yeah, I think both still have that unfinished business. I don't think that they'll be sitting back feeling great. That season went jolly well. We're happy to down our tools now in this Club World Cup. I mean, absolutely not. In some respects, they'll try to salvage the season, and I know Chelsea did get the Conference League. But, you know, can you imagine the way the narrative would shift if Chelsea were to win this Club World Cup? We'd say, right, they won the Conference League and they won the Club World Cup. And suddenly, you know, that's a team going places, who've massively invested in youth in recent seasons, and we'll say it's bearing fruit. And people then would start talking about, can they mount a challenge in the Premier League? I mean, your question directly on the Premier League, I mean, I get to see an awful lot of it, of course, and I do believe it's of an incredibly high standard. I think this is a great gauge to sort of see that in reality, you know, to see, right, you know, are the Premier League teams going to be able to fare really well against the clubs from other continents and other leagues? I think Manchester City, I never rule them out of any game. You know, I've never gone to a game where Manchester City are playing and I think, no, they're definitely going to lose this. You know, they always have a gear that they could flick into. This has been a really strange season we've just gone through, but the talent there is absolutely frightening. And to be fair, the same as with Chelsea, you know, that they had that period sort of 2 summers ago where they just went a bit bonkers in the transfer market. And you kind of think, hang on, people were saying the same thing about Nottingham Forest. But isn't it amazing that both of them have been able to kind of work through it and eventually find a blend and find a gel and begin now to be bearing the fruit of that. And now I guess is where both teams will look to push on. And for Chelsea, we'll get to see. But yeah, for these players on this international stage, I would expect this should get the best out of them. And it is as well a refresh, isn't it? It's a reset. I'm sure in that Manchester City dressing room towards the end of the campaign, even when they've things like FA Cup finals to come, just a little bit of a sense of you know, it's like almost if you're playing a game of golf or you're playing a computer game or something. I'd love to just turn off and start this again. You know, I'd like to start afresh. And I think this tournament will be that sort of reset for Manchester City. And they'll sort of say, right, last season was last season. This is, you know, new jerseys, new city, new signings. Now we'll show you what we can do. And hopefully they will do.
Yeah, and another team that are used to the heat that will be playing here in Miami is Al Hilal. And that's a fascinating opening game against Real Madrid with so many plot lines all of a sudden. Simone Inzaghi against Xabi Alonso, 2 managerial debuts, Dean Howson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and then the whole sort of Saudi build-up to the tournament where they tried for so many stars, but unfortunately couldn't land a Bruno Fernandes or a Victor Osimhen. What do you make of that fixture? Because for me, it sort of sums up the Club World Cup, the kind of game you'd never see before, the kind of fixture that will attract a global audience, and now a match where we are going to get a lot of attention because of those names involved.
Yeah, I think this is where the Saudis will absolutely want to be. They want to be in this conversation, part of the competitions that the likes of Real Madrid are part of, and I guess now as well it's to see, well, we all know this enormous investment that they've made as a country in terms of facilities, but signings and marquee players and all of that. But is it actually going to bear fruit when they come up against the likes of a Real Madrid, who I think, frankly, if you were to do a poll, most people in the world would still say that top European level is going to be streets ahead. So very interesting to see how they can compete in that level. But make no mistake, and you mentioned there Inzaghi. I think a lot of people won't even have realised that because it's happened so quickly. And I think when you tune in to watch this Club World Cup, you go, oh yeah, I remember him, and he used to be with him, and even, I mean, someone was trying to explain to me, and I still can't get my head around it, but during the tournament, there's still going to be this other little mini transfer window that's going to open up for a few days into June, into July. So you could actually have players who aren't on the squad rosters, as they call them in America now, coming in and actually being involved in the latter stages of the tournament. So it just gives a little bit of novelty to it. And they're going to do things with the referees having little cameras on their chest. And it's the same football, it's the same game, but maybe with a little bit of American razzmatazz. And I know some traditionalists will not like that, and that's absolutely fine. But for me, give it a go. Let's have a look. Let's see what it's like, and let's see if we're entertained.
Let's just finish with a few quick fire ones. I forewarn you, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you who you think might win the Club World Cup, as well as who is a contender for the Golden Boot and maybe a dark horse. But now you've got some time to think about that. But we'll come back to that last, so you can kind of play around with that in your head. First of all, are you the kind of commentator to come armed to the Club World Cup with hundreds of coloured highlighters and write everything out neatly in handwriting, or has your prep moved into the digital age?
Yeah, no, to be fair, I've always been digital. I really have since the 90s. I used to always print out my notes, partly because I've got terrible handwriting. I can't even read my own handwriting. My BBC colleague, John Murray, has just got the most beautiful, tiny lettered handwriting, and it's a joy to look at. I mean, it's a piece of art just to look at his notes. But if I tried to do that, it would just look a scrawl. So yeah, I've had the system for a long time. I've been really chuffed that a lot of other people have copied it about having players on little stickers, little address labels, and you can put them in formation the way you want them, and it's easy to update for the next games that come. But I always say this, it's what works for you. You can't say one person's preparation method is better than anyone else's, and it's not about hanging it in the Louvre. It doesn't have to look amazing. It's can you at the barest glance be able to look down and use that as a safety net, just to reassure you that, because there are so many stats, so many numbers, so much detail, so much pronunciation, so much variance, particularly at a tournament like this, and being able to just glance down and instantly see, you can't start turning pages looking for the detail you're looking for. You don't have time for that. So it all has to be on one sheet. So whatever method of hieroglyphics that you can prepare to make that work for you. And, and some of it, people who have been sort of looking over my shoulder say, well, hang on, what does that mean? And I have a lot of my own little abbreviations that I never write out the word season. It's always SZN, for example. And, the little abbreviations that to me make absolute sense. But if someone was just looking over my shoulder, wouldn't understand, just as I wouldn't understand if I was to look at a colleague's prep. But we do an awful lot of prep, and I use the expression safety net there, and I think that's what it's for. If you have a long delay, a long injury, and you want to be able to, entertain rather than just padding and filling, you want to make every second count to these broadcasts. I mean, how lucky are we as commentators to have this enormous? We're talking hundreds of millions of people are going to be tuning into these broadcasts. You can't be wasting that with faff or waffle. You want to have a structure of, hang on, well, look, we could talk about this, we could talk about that, the game coming up later on, the thing that's happening tomorrow. But you want to be factual, you want to be correct. So all that work you put in before the game means then you can relax and enjoy the conversation when you are broadcasting, and for me anyway, that's made all the difference for me.
And then you're the voice of DAZN's coverage along with other commentators. They've got a stellar lineup of talent. Just tell me how excited you are to be part specifically of DAZN's coverage, and it is an outstanding who's who of talent, not just covering the teams and their stars, but the broadcast quality that they've put together.
Yeah, look, they've put together a great team, and I've always been a bit of a tech nerd. I'm fascinated, and I love how something like this just wouldn't have been possible a decade ago, maybe even 5 years ago. The ability to just stream live content. Now, when I was in Germany at the Nations League final, I was working there, but in the hotel they were showing all the other games. All the other internationals were all on DAZN in the hotel, so you'd go in the lobby and you're watching it all on DAZN. And I think a few years ago, you'd be worried, is that going to start buffering? Is there going to be the way they've done the technology now is absolutely incredible. And nothing, it is worth sort of maybe stressing this, I guess in the media, we're so close to it and you sort of take things for granted. But, this has never happened before, that no matter where you are in the world, you can tune in on the same station and watch these games. That's just logistically, that's incredible how it's going to be able to happen and to function. I'm very glad that it's not my responsibility to manage the technicals. They've got people far above my pay scale who are able to manage all that. But yeah, just from a technological standpoint, I'm absolutely blown away. But then you got the fact that these kickoffs, the way the games are structured, a game will end. You'll have roughly an hour, sometimes just half an hour of a gap between the two games. But yeah, they've got brilliant guests, studio, be it people pitch side at games and also in the studios looking on, and there's highlights programs and so much content. And you take an event of this scale, there's naturally going to be so much of a fallout of stories, of add-ons, of it, be it injury stuff, be it concerns, will a player be fit for the next weekend, will he be fit for the start of next season, be it how new signings are settling in, be it how new signings are not settling in, whatever the talking points are, there's going to be sort of reaction shows and stuff. And I guess depending, given the global nature, depending on where you live in the world, you'll be tuning in at different times of the day. So you might be wanting preview material or reaction material, and of course it's all going to be there and on demand. The days of sort of having to wait for the show that you want to watch or wait for the kickoff, those days are long gone. You can tune in, that a game has happened overnight in America maybe, and you can say, right, I want to watch it from the start without knowing the score. So yeah, just something that DAZN can offer that I don't think has ever happened before.
And then, as promised, I'll give you 3 quick predictions to finish. You can give me one word or just a couple of sentences. We'll save the big one until last. Let's begin with a dark horse. Name me a team that you think might overperform or end up making headlines.
I'm going to say Inter Miami because the home advantage thing, the fact that they've given, they're not the only American team in this, but they're giving them the opening game. That's going to make them feel that they're sort of the host nation of this, if you like. And I just think so much reliance on Messi, but he is an absolute superstar. The others will see this as a wonderful global opportunity to show what they can do. Are they going to win it? No. But, can they give this a go? Can they, just harness that Messi factor and try and push on to the knockout stages? I think they just might surprise people. But what do I know?
Don't worry, my predictions are bad as well. So you got Messi, Kane, Haaland, Mbappe, and plenty of other candidates. Who do you fancy for top scorer at the competition?
Oh, Haaland has to start scoring goals again soon, doesn't he? If you look back at his stats, it has been strange through the past few weeks of the season, and yet overall the entire campaign, most strikers will be delighted to score as many goals as he's done. That's his outrageous sort of levels. I think he'll be fit, he'll be ready, kind of hungry to go because of that injury he had the latter stages of the season. This is a sort of a new fresh start for him. I'll be surprised if he doesn't start banging in the goals. But look, I really hope that there's some player, a Japanese player, an Asian player, a Middle Eastern player, someone who maybe isn't a household name, who becomes a household name in this tournament. I remember as a kid watching Italia 90 and Toto Scalacci. I'd never heard of Toto Scalacci, but I didn't know who he was. And suddenly he was this, top scorer of the World Cup. And I'd love to think that there's a new generation who will tune in. They'll find some new star, not someone that they've seen a million, clips of on YouTube in the past. Someone new that they've never been aware of, who suddenly becomes a big name. And that's definitely something that could happen given the wide expanse of how many players and teams in this tournament.
Yeah, James Rodriguez was a bit like that, wasn't he, on the international stage as well? So last up, simple question, difficult answer. Who will win the Club World Cup?
I'm going to go for Bayern Munich. I was doing some prep on them coming over on the plane, and the strength of their squad is absolutely frightening. You go through it and you just say, wow, quality, 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 quality. And it's so difficult for these teams, take any of the top teams in Europe, the emphasis that's put on the Champions League. You have one bad night in the knockout stages and your Champions League goes. But I think Bayern Munich, given this sort of structure and format of this competition, I think they'll have a real run at this. And they would be my tip to win it.
Great stuff. Conor, we're looking forward to hearing you on DAZN across the tournament. Keep up the good work and thank you for your time.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
That's right. You keep watching that Market Madness logo.
I got confused as to where we were then, but I think we're here. We're back. Okay. That was Conor McNamara, one of the commentators covering the Club World Cup at DAZN. If you've only just joined us, you have missed the GOAT, Lionel Messi. He was on the show. But do not worry, because there may be another little clip of Lionel Messi coming a little bit later on. But if you've been here since the start, we have had a few technical issues. It's a live podcast, guys. They're going to happen. So we're going to try and get the king of transfers, Fabrizio Romano, on third time lucky. Let's go.
Fab, you look great, by the way. All right. I'm loving the regrowth that you got going on here. Very elegant indeed. But look.
A little bit of here we growth.
Oh, well done. Listen, we got a few questions we want to get through. It's all about the transfers. First one, Nico Williams' future, Barca, Bayern, or is he staying at Atletico Bilbao? Can you let us know what the situation is, please?
Look, my friend, the situation is that in this moment, from what I'm hearing, Nico Williams only wants to go to Barcelona. So the message was sent very clear in a direct meeting on Friday last week between the agent of Nico and Barca. So he wants to go to Barcelona. That's his intention. Now, depends on Barcelona, because Barca want to go for Nico. They decided internally this week, and also speaking between the director Deco, the president Laporta, Hansi Flick, and all of them together, that they want to go for Nico. But now financially, with financial fair play, with the payment of the release clause in one solution, 58 million euros, they have yet to understand when and how they can make it happen. So they are discussing about that on the technical and financial point of view, but they want to go for Nico. So at the moment, Barcelona are clear favorites. Bayern had 2 meetings with his agents. Bayern want Nico Williams, but at the moment they understand that the player is waiting for Barcelona and is giving priority to Barcelona. So at the moment, I would keep Barca as clear favorites, but again, it really depends on what they decide to do and what they can do at Barcelona on the financial point of view, because obviously that's not a detail.
Yeah, see, that's the question. Like, sometimes I wonder, do they have the money? Do they not have the money? Because, are they going to be financially able to put together a package that's going to work?
Yeah, it depends also on the timing, the payment terms. Sometimes it's also important when it's 58 million euros in one solution and then to register the player for financial fair play. There are all these sort of things. So that's what Barca are trying to understand, and all the other clubs are waiting, especially Bayern, more than Arsenal. My understanding is that Arsenal wanted the player, but they believe now is really difficult. Also in terms of salary, is a complicated deal. Bayern are still there waiting, but Barca are the clear favorites, and I think if they will get the green light financially, they will get Nico Williams.
Okay. And what about Christian Romero? Will Atleti bid? And what is Spurs' position as well with this?
Look, Atletico love the player. So they would love to bring Cuti Romero one day to the club. Also, Simeone is a big fan. But my understanding is that with Tottenham in Champions League, Tottenham with a new project now with Thomas Frank, I don't see Tottenham losing a leader like Cuti Romero this summer. So it's going to be very difficult to get the player in this summer transfer window. Daniel Levy wants to keep the player at the club. From what I'm hearing, also Thomas Frank see Cuti Romero as a crucial part of the squad on the technical point of view, but also leadership. So I think Atletico want to try. They always wanted to try, not only this year, also in the past. But at the moment, I think it's going to be quite complicated, especially with Tottenham being in Champions League. If they lost the final in Bilbao, maybe it was going to be a different story. But now being in Champions League, I think it's going to be very tough.
Fabrizio, great to see you as ever. Let's move on to Liverpool. We know that it is going to be Florian Friday for formalisation. What about Milos? Might it be Milos Monday next week for Kirkes?
Look, it could be because the day can change based on some technical things they have to resolve. But what I heard already 2 weeks ago is that it's just about some technical things. I'm not here explaining that because it's quite private things between clubs, but nothing worrying, no issues. It's just a matter of time, and then Milos Kerkez will be a Liverpool player. There is no doubt, also because the player is not considering any other destination. Some club tried in the last 2-3 weeks to call and understand what's going on with Liverpool, and the answer was always, sorry, but I go to Liverpool. So Kerkez is going to Liverpool. He has an agreement with the club, and also club to club is almost there. So it's just a matter of when. Could be Monday, could be any other moment. This we will see in the next days, but Kerkez will be the new left back for Arne Slot.
And you mentioned Nico Williams and Barcelona. That would suggest that Barca are not going to go for Luis Diaz. They made an approach to Liverpool, and there was this not for sale stance. How genuine is that? Because we know there's Saudi interest in Diaz as well. Do you expect Diaz to stay, or is there still a possibility he could leave?
Look, I would keep it open, to be honest. I think if from Saudi a crazy proposal arrives and the player decides to go, well, in that case, the story could still be open. So I would not kill that story for Luis Diaz. For sure, for Barca, it's difficult because financially it's a different package they could offer to Liverpool and to the player. So as you mentioned, at the moment with Barcelona, the situation is very quiet and they're going, at the moment, for Nico Williams. Let's see if they will be able to make it happen. But Al Nassr see Luis Diaz as a perfect target to add to the squad, to have one more quality player up front with Cristiano Ronaldo to stay at the club. And so I think for Al Nassr, the intention is still to try in the next weeks. Then we have to respect Liverpool. Let's see how Liverpool will reply. But I think this story remains open, waiting to understand how much they will really offer to the club and also to the player.
Sticking it with Liverpool, I think it's important that we actually figure out who are their striker targets at the moment, because obviously we know that there's potentially Isak. We know that, we're not sure with Jota's future. What's actually going on? Who are their targets?
Look, the dream has always been Alexander Isak. That's absolutely clear for Arsenal and for Liverpool. Both clubs wanted to go for him already March, April, making some calls and try to understand the situation. Then Newcastle qualified for Champions League football, and so I still think it's going to be more than difficult to get Alexander Isak this summer. If they will have the feeling that something could happen, well, in that case, I'm sure they would try, especially Liverpool. They would try to go for Isak, but at the moment, I don't have this feeling, and the club too, from what I'm hearing, they see it as a very, very difficult deal. So a name I can mention for Liverpool is still Hugo Ekitike, at Eintracht, because if Darwin leaves, let's see what happens with Luis Diaz, but especially Darwin, and I see Darwin leaving this summer, well, I think for Ekitike, this could be a possibility to go to Liverpool, because there were calls from Chelsea 2 weeks ago. Man United in the recent days also made contact with the agents to understand the situation. But for Liverpool, this is also a possibility. Also, Liverpool spoke to the agents. Also, Liverpool consider Ekitike as an interesting opportunity. And so that's a name I would keep in their shortlist.
When it comes to Newcastle, João Pedro, the latest, and should they be worried about Chelsea coming in trying to hijack the deal?
Yeah, let's see, because Chelsea like the player. What I understand is that Chelsea have the player on their list. He's a player they really like, and so that could be a possibility. But at the moment, the only club making club-to-club contact with Brighton has been Newcastle. So there is a conversation ongoing between Brighton and Newcastle about João Pedro. Newcastle already wanted to sign the player before he joined Brighton when he was at Watford. So he's always been appreciated by the management and also by the recruiting team. So I think for João Pedro, they will really go strong from Newcastle. But Chelsea are still there. Chelsea are still following the situation. And so at the moment, I would keep this race open also because nothing is done yet with Newcastle.
Speaking of Chelsea, we know they want this right-footed left winger. They tried for Jamie Gittins just before that Club World Cup deadline of June the 10th. Would you say he's still the priority, or are there other strong targets under consideration as well?
No, look, I would say that he's still a priority. I see Chelsea signing Bino Gittins this summer because they really want the player. They have an agreement with the player on a 7-year contract. The player, from what I understand, was really disappointed when the deal didn't happen on the deadline for the Club World Cup market. So the player wanted to go to Chelsea, wants to go to Chelsea, and the message is very clear also for Borussia Dortmund. Then obviously a club-to-club agreement is still needed and the moment is not in place. But I expect Chelsea to return with a new proposal, with a new bid, trying to make it happen between clubs. And Gittins is only waiting for Chelsea. So when these are the conditions of the story, usually in the market, the deal always happens, and I have good feelings about this one.
Let's move on to Villa. It's an interesting few weeks, Fabrizio, because here in England, the financial year is about to end, and if Villa need sales, you sense we might see some movement. Emi Martinez, he appeared to wave goodbye in the final home Premier League game last season, but he is well contracted. Do you expect him to stay or go, and how concrete are both the Manchester United and Atletico Madrid links?
Well, look, at the moment with Atletico Madrid, I'm not aware of anything concrete, also because there is Oblak. At Manchester United, the goalkeeper situation will depend on Andre Onana. If they receive a bid for Onana, that could be an option. Otherwise, I don't see Man United signing one more goalkeeper and putting in a competition with Onana. So it really depends on Andre Onana. But more in general, from what I heard, Emi Martinez had some possibilities from Saudi also, some strong approaches from Saudi also in terms of financial package offered. But the player wants to wait for Europe, wants to understand how the goalkeepers domino will go in Europe in the first weeks of the window, and then make a decision about his future. I think there is still a chance for Emi Martinez to leave Aston Villa. He is with Jorge Mendes as new agent now, so exploring the market in the recent weeks. And Emi Martinez, for me, could still be one of the names we will discuss here together in the next weeks.
Fab, this is the one I want to know. Arsenal strikers. You've got Benjamin Sesko. You've got Victor Gyökeres. We're hearing Victor Gyökeres has said no to United. He wants to come to us. What is the situation? When can I start celebrating on your Instagram page?
Look, I don't think Gyökeres said no to Man United. I think Gyökeres, from what I heard, told, obviously, his agents told to Manchester United that the priority is Arsenal, which is different because, obviously, if you say no is 1 point. If you say my priority is another club, could mean that maybe in a few weeks the situation could change. But at the moment, what I can tell you is that for Gyökeres, the most important part of the story is to understand the final price, because we know there is this battle between the agents and Sporting, and one thing is to sign the player for 60 million euros, another thing is to sign the player for 80. So the price is going to be an important point to see how this war will end between the agents and Sporting. So that's why Arsenal are still working on the Gyökeres deal, but waiting to see what happens in terms of pricing. For Benjamin Sesko, there were reports this morning of an agreement done on personal terms. I'm not aware of that. So at the moment, I'm told that there is still nothing done between clubs or with the player. There's a conversation ongoing, for sure. Arsenal are working on the Sesko deal, but it's not a done deal with the player or a done deal with Leipzig. So the two options are still open in this moment. Arsenal are working on both. Only one will join, of course. And so let's see what's going to happen. But I think the price of Gyökeres is the real key of this story.
So the handbrakes are still on. What about Mbeumo? At one point we thought, yes, he's already signed for Manchester United. It seemed like it was practically done. Is there confidence? What's the chances of Spurs hijacking this deal also?
Look, for sure there is appreciation from Thomas Frank, and so it's quite obvious to discuss a target like Mbeumo for Tottenham, because he's one of the names they discussed internally as soon as he signed his contract as new Tottenham manager. So it's obvious in football to see these kind of situations, but my understanding is that Man United remain at the moment in control of the situation, in conversation with Brentford, club to club, talking almost on daily basis, trying to find a solution. We know with these clubs like Brentford, Brighton, it's always difficult to negotiate for their top players. So it's not easy to reach an agreement, but Man United are on that. Are talking to the club, always in contact with player agents and with an agreement with Bryan Mbeumo, because the player wants to go to United. And so at the moment, United remain front runners on this story. Let's see if they can be able to reach an agreement on the field with Brentford.
And just finally, Fabrizio, coming back to Spurs, Son's future seems up in the air. There's been Saudi interest dating back a couple of years. Tottenham have decided to sign Matis Tel permanently. They may even add another player on that left-hand side. Do you sense, even though Tottenham triggered that option for Son to extend his contract, that he could actually still depart this summer?
Look, the interest from Saudi is really strong. We can confirm that. And also they have very good connections with his agents in Saudi. So usually to have this opportunity for a player like Son could be something massive. I think still nothing is decided on player side, especially on player side. Son has to decide what he wants to do. I think this is going to be an important point of the story. Son has to speak with Thomas Frank, and also it's going to be important to see what the manager will tell the player. I think with Postecoglou as a coach, he was always going to stay at Tottenham next season. Now let's see what happens with Thomas Frank. So let's wait for this conversation. For sure, we can confirm interest from Saudi, strong interest. But at the moment, still nothing is decided on player side. And also, let's see also in terms of transfer fee, how much Tottenham want for the player. So I would say still early stages of the story, still nothing advanced, but the interest is genuine.
Fab, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. And everybody watching, you can ask Fabrizio Romano your questions, and he will do his best to respond them on the GMS newsletter. Head over to the GiveMeSports website or scan the QR code on the screen now. Fab, you are brilliant. Enjoy yourself, and I'll see you later.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Always a pleasure, and see you soon. Ciao.
Oh, yes. And you know what? you can move aside Mr. Ben Jacobs, because we got some breaking news. That's right. Arsenal are in active talks. That's right. Active, A stands for active, to sign Benjamin Sesko. And if you want to head over to GiveMeSport's website, you can now read an exclusive interview with Fabrizio Romano and Sesko's agent, which has just been published. And you know what? Saying that, I think is fair enough to bring back Mr. Ben Jacobs, because we've got some breaking news.
Breaking news, and this one relates to Emi Martinez, the Aston Villa goalkeeper. We heard earlier from Fabrizio Romano that it's still an open situation, but what I can tell you is that the Martinez camp have made it known to Manchester United that they think the Villa goalkeeper is going to be available and that he is willing to leave. And that probably explains why we saw that goodbye wave on the last game of the Premier League season last campaign. Now, Villa are in a very interesting financial situation. They may need sales in the next 2 weeks or so to close the financial year. Martinez is well contracted until 2029. And my understanding is that Villa are expected to seek well in excess of £30 million, maybe even closer to 40 million. In an ideal world, Villa were prepared to do Joan Garcia for 25 million euros, opening the door for Martinez to leave. But Garcia has now chosen Barcelona, and that move is official. But Villa certainly feel they can find a goalkeeper for less than they sell Martinez for. Now, Emi Martinez would be open to joining Manchester United without Champions League football. Atletico Madrid haven't made an approach yet, but they might be ones to watch if Jan Oblak leaves. But naturally, if he stays, it's a very different situation. And Villa have formulated their valuation in many ways using Mike Maignan, the Milan goalkeeper, as a yardstick. 20 to 25 million there with 1 year left on his contract. And Villa feel that Martinez should be a lot more and has longer left on his contract. Martinez has Saudi interest, but it's understood that he prefers to stay in Europe, especially as we build up to the 2026 World Cup. But the key point here is it's unclear if United will sign a number one rather than a number two. Andre Onana, I'm told, has not yet been told, contrary to some reports, that he is surplus to requirements. So the Martinez situation is one to watch. The Onana future still needs to be clarified too. But the point here is Aston Villa needs sales. Jacob Ramsey to Saudi side Neom doesn't appear advanced despite reports. That would be good money for Villa, but it's not over the line or close yet. So still Martinez may be the sale to watch in the next few weeks. And it's worth noting too that Villa hold an interest in Alejandro Garnacho as well. So keep an eye on Emi Martinez's future. The player would be willing to join Manchester United even without Champions League football.
Oh, that is one to keep your eye on for sure. Right, guys. If you didn't know already, we had Lionel Messi on the show a little bit earlier on today. And don't worry, because shall we hear from the GOAT again himself? Let's do it. He is currently obviously out in America playing for Inter Miami at the Club World Cup. This time he's speaking on his expectations for the tournament.
Bueno, la verdad que un lindo torneo, es una ilusión poder estar, poder jugarlo. Con otra expectativa a cuando estaba en diferentes equipos donde me tocó estar, pero con mucha gana y mucha ilusión de poder competir con los mejores e intentar hacer un buen papel.
Oh, Joel, you off somewhere, were you?
Yeah.
Caught in the act. So you actually, Joel, you just missed me translating it in Spanish for like all of our to English for all of our viewers. So
gosh, yeah. I just wanted to make sure it was all bright.
Yeah, no, don't worry, Joel. You do you. Right. I'm going to need you here though for this next part because it's time for our game. It's another debate. It's another me versus you, Joel. And the topic of debate this time is which team has had a better season, Arsenal or Chelsea? Now, if you want to choose Crystal Palace instead, because I know you're basically a Palace fan now, it's up to you. I mean, to be honest, it'd probably be a better debate if you picked Palace, but I'll leave it up to you, Joel. We've got 45 seconds to make our case. So you've got to go first. Who are you? I'm assuming you're going to be representing Arsenal here.
Yeah, I just need to ask, where did you finish in the league again? Was it 5th?
No, 4th.
Fourth.
Yeah, Champions League spots, mate. Yeah. Anyway, we ready?
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay, you have 45 seconds, which starts now.
It has to be Arsenal Football Club when you look at everything in perspective. I mean, for 3 years running, second. On top, there was no other teams that even came close to Liverpool or Man City. So much to the fact that everybody's upset that we didn't win the league. No one's upset with Chelsea. No one's upset with them. All I'm hearing is, oh, they need a new striker. Oh, they need this. They need to bring back Chalobah. You know, when it comes to Arsenal, you've said it yourself, all we need is a number 9 and we will become league champions. We almost won the Champions League, for goodness sake. Declan Rice's free kicks. Have you ever seen anything like it? You know, we know that Mikel Arteta has to do a job this year. Otherwise, people are going to want him out. Why? Because the expectations have been on.
I don't reckon I actually need to say anything and I'd win.
Why?
But well, should we go?
Well, don't tell me you're going to talk about that trophy.
No, you just give me my 45 seconds and I'll tell you why Chelsea have had a better season. Ready?
That trophy.
Ready? Go on then. Start the timer, Joel. Oh,
Your
it started. Okay.
Now.
Well, season before last, Chelsea finished 6th in the league. Last season, no one expected Chelsea to finish in a Champions League spot. No one had us finishing 4th. What did we do? We did that, got a Champions League spot. Then we were in a competition that we then won. Obviously, understandably, we were expected to win that. Arsenal haven't progressed. Everyone thought that whoever finishes above City wins the league. City fell off a cliff. What did Arsenal do? Fall off the cliff next to them. And they didn't even, you're saying they got close to Liverpool. They didn't even get close to Liverpool. You finished 2nd and that was it. You didn't win a trophy. You didn't win the Champions League. You didn't even come close to winning the Champions League because PSG are a far better team than you. So actually, overall, when you think of, I mean, I don't think we even need a judge to come in and say who's won here, really.
So semi-finals isn't close to winning the Champions League?
No, because you got battered by PSG.
We didn't get battered. But we didn't get battered.
Listen, there is no way. I know we're doing this for the game, but there's no way that you actually believe you've had a better season than Chelsea. No way.
I do, because I think
Joel.
What it is because Chelsea have actually been pretty disappointing. I mean, at one point we thought they were going to win the league.
No one actually thought that though.
No, you Let's be honest. At one point, you guys wanted to sack Maresca because you were so annoyed with his expectations and whatnot. And Cole Palmer went off the boil. You know, it was.
That's why I think you have to give him his credit, because actually, given the end of the season that we had, the fixtures that we had. No one at the start of the season said Chelsea were going to finish in Champions League spot. No pundit, no one apart from.
Doesn't mean you've had a better season than
I optimistically did, but I think that was exceeding expectations. Arsenal haven't exceeded any expectations. They finished 2nd.
Neither Chelsea.
We have exceeded expectations.
You were supposed to win the league in December.
No, we weren't.
You were.
No, we weren't. Anyway, I can announce that the winner of the debate challenge was, in fact, it was me. That was Bayern 10, Auckland City 0 is one of the, so that was the vibes. But whilst Joel cries about losing another challenge to me, I think we're going to go over to Ben for some more breaking news. Yeah.
Tottenham are turning their attention to a right-sided attacker. We know they've been linked with Bryan Mbeumo. We'll come on to him in a moment. But I'm told Antoine Semenyo and Tyler Dibling are the two main targets at the moment, both endorsed by Thomas Frank. Spurs want a right-sided attacker as high priority. Matis Tel has already signed permanently on the left-hand side, and Son is still there for now. They could add one more, but the main priority is a right-sided attacker who can also move into central areas. Manchester United are optimistic of landing Bryan Mbeumo. They don't believe the player's position of preferring a move to Old Trafford has changed just because Thomas Frank has taken over at Spurs. I'm also told reports of a formal, 70 million bid from Spurs are wide of the mark, and that at the moment the only formal bid Brentford had is a rejected 45 million plus 10 million from Manchester United, and talks are still continuing. So it looks like Spurs have got other options. It's not to say that they've totally exited the race for Bryan Mbeumo, but Semenyo and Dibling are seen as more viable. With Semenyo, he could be sold, but Bournemouth don't want to lose all of their stars, of course. So it may depend on whether Zabanyi goes to PSG first, Kirkos on his way to Liverpool, Howson's already joined Real Madrid. They're not going to let everyone go. But Semenya, if he's to be sold, will require a club record sale, which means Tottenham are going to have to give Bournemouth more than they paid for Dominic Solanke, which was £55 million plus 10 million in add-ons. So the number for Semenya, if Tottenham are to succeed, needs to exceed £65 million total package. Tyler Dibbling will probably be a little bit more cheaper because Southampton have gone down. We hear reports Saints want 100 million. I think from sourcing it, that's more grandstanding to try and ward off the market and keep the player. Tottenham feel that if they offer what they gave to Leicester for James Maddison when they went down 45 million, that might be enough. So keep an eye on the situation there. And still maybe a left-sided player. A lot of people asking me about Eberici Eze. The Tottenham interest is genuine, but there's an expensive release clause there and nothing is advancing at this stage. But it could be one to watch because two left-sided players could arrive, Tell and one more, and that might open the door for Son if he chooses to go to Saudi Arabia or elsewhere. But at the moment, Tottenham seem to be working on Semenya, early stages, Dibbling being an option, and Mbumo still prefers that move to Manchester United.
Man, that's actually some good stuff. I'll tell you what else we have here. Ooh, can you guys hear me?
You're all good, Joel.
Sorry about that. I feel like I'm the one that's had the technical issues this time. Liv, you're on mute anyway, by the way. So as much as you laugh, it's absolutely
that serves me right, to be fair.
But you know what? I want to say, Ben, we tasked you with a question at the start of the show, and we wanted to know, is Xavi Simons going to move to the Premier League this summer? And also, which English clubs are interested in him?
Yeah, I think there's concrete possibility of a move. The issue is basically price. So as we said right at the top of the show, PSG sold the player to Leipzig for a total package of 80 million euros, of which I'm told 50 million is guaranteed and 30 million is add-ons, not all paid. So Leipzig are obviously looking to turn a profit, which means that a number between 50 and 80 is what's going to get this deal done. There is some optimism from suitors. It won't be quite 80 simply because all of the add-ons haven't been paid, but it will certainly be in excess of 60 million euros, and it might even be pushing north of 70 million euros. That's the challenge. The good news is the player wants to leave and will agitate to do so, even though he's only been permanent at Leipzig for a small period. There were the previous loans, so he's been there longer than maybe people realise. And the Premier League is of appeal. So the finances are tough, but the player does want to leave. And you have a couple of suitors that are looking. One is Bayern Munich outside the Premier League, who are going to spend some serious money. We know their number one position, though, is a left-sided attacker first and foremost. You have Tottenham, who could be ones to watch as well. They're going to be looking, as I broke a moment ago, for a right-sided attacker first. But don't rule out this kind of profile for them as well. And then historically, you've had Chelsea and Manchester United who have taken a look. I think Chelsea are looking for like a Christopher Nkunku replacement. At the moment, we're led to believe that Mohamed Kudus, João Pedro are two names under consideration. So Chelsea's interest has been historical. We'll have to wait and see whether they move in any way, shape or form. And for Manchester United, all the big budget is going to be put towards a striker, which is why I think it unlikely that they'll rekindle their interest. Arsenal have discussed the player as well. So there's several Premier League options. At the moment, I can only tell you about Spurs, who have made an active inquiry to just understand on the player side the desire, but also the price. So nothing advanced at this point. And it might be the kind of deal that happens a little bit later in the window. We were speaking earlier about how Son is going to go off and do pre-season with Spurs. And then after that, decide on his future. You might find, because of the complications over price and the fact that the player wants to wait for suitors, that this is not a June, early July saga. We have to be patient potentially, and we might not get that full clarity from who's going to go from monitoring or interested from within the Premier League or historical interest, as I've referenced, but who's actually going to decide now it's time to start club-to-club talks and make a formal bid. And I sense that won't be a late June, early July type situation. It's more a story perhaps to wait for the latter part of July, or even maybe right up until August and that deadline day in early September. So quite an open race, but the key takeaways are: one, the player does want to leave, and two, that asking price is going to be in excess of 60 million euros. And depending on that add-on situation, maybe even a little bit more. And the higher the price, of course, the more unlikely it is that a club, for example, like Manchester United might come in and do that deal, even though 12 months ago, their interest was very serious.
Thank you very much, Ben. You never fail to answer those questions, do you? Never. Always answer them brilliantly. Right, guys, that is it. We are done. Ben, we will leave you to go and enjoy America. I might see you out there in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, look forward to it.
Sounds good. Joel, you can enjoy England and just maybe Arsenal's pre-season friendlies or something. Right, that is it. We are done. Thank you for tuning into the show today. If you missed it, we had the GOAT. We had Lionel Messi on the show. We had Fabrizio Romano as well. We will catch you in 2 weeks' time. As usual, we'll be talking about all the biggest football transfer stories with plenty of top guests. You can watch us live on YouTube, X, Facebook. Just search GiveMeSport. Or you can listen back on your podcast app of choice. Just search for Market Madness. For more information on any of the stories we've discussed and so much more, head to GiveMeSport.com. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.